timing is almost too perfect to be accidental, and if you think this is just another royal photo opportunity, you are missing the massive chess game being played right in front of our eyes. Just 7 days, count them, 7 days, after the British monarchy was shaken to its absolute core by the arrest of Prince Andrew, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have decided to make their biggest move in nearly 2 years. We are watching a masterclass in counter-programming, or perhaps the most awkward coincidence in royal history. But before we pack our bags for the Middle East, we have to ask the question that is burning a hole in every royal watcher's mind. Is this a genuine mission of mercy, or is it the ultimate distraction calculated to save the reputation of the House of Windsor, or perhaps finally bury it? Stick around, because the details of this trip, who is paying for it, and the misconduct charges lurking in the background reveal a story that goes way deeper than a simple handshake. According to breaking reports that just landed, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are touching down in Jordan right now, Tuesday, February 24, 2026, marking their return to the international stage. But here is the first breadcrumb of satisfaction for you. This isn't a vacation. This is a high-stakes partnership with the World Health Organization. However, the curiosity gap opens immediately when you realize the context. Why Jordan? Why now? And why, according to sources, was the royal family merely informed rather than consulted? We are going to unravel the tangled web of protocol, scandal, and humanitarian aid that defines this moment. You have to appreciate the sheer optics of this situation. In London, the headlines are dominated by police inquiries, legal teams, and the disgraced figure of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, who spent his 66th birthday in custody just last week. It is a grim, grey, heavy atmosphere over Buckingham Palace. Now flip the script. In Amman, Jordan, you are about to see Harry and Meghan in the bright desert sun, focusing on vulnerable communities and mental health. It is the ultimate split-screen reality. On one side, the past sins of the monarchy dragging it down. On the other, the progressive future of the Sussexes lifting people up. Some might call that irony. I call it incredible brand management. But let's dig into the meat of this trip, because the why is fascinating. Sources close to the couple claim this visit focuses heavily on the ripple effects of the ongoing regional crisis. We are talking about the conflict that has dominated the headlines for years. Harry and Meghan aren't just visiting museums, they are going to the front lines of the humanitarian response. They are linking up with Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the Director General of the WHO. Remember him? Harry and he were rubbing shoulders in London last September. This isn't a cold call, this is a long-term strategy coming to fruition. But here is the kicker that makes you wonder about the palace's reaction. Harry and Meghan are stepping onto turf that has traditionally been very significant for Prince William and Kate Middleton. Remember, Kate lived in Jordan as a child. The Waleses took their family there for a private holiday. They attended the Crown Prince's wedding. By heading to Jordan, Harry and Meghan are walking in footprints usually reserved for the future king and queen. Is it a territory grab? Probably not explicitly, but in the world of royal optics, geography is everything. The fact that this trip comes now, nearly 18 months after their last big international tour to Colombia in 2024, suggests they have been waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. And what a moment they chose. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the uncle in the legal precinct. Just last week, Feb 19, 2026, authorities made that historic move against Andrew. Misconduct in public office. Those are heavy, heavy words. It is alleged that he shared confidential information during his time as a trade envoy. While Andrew denies everything, the stain on the family reputation is fresh and spreading. Now, pause and think about the psychology here. Harry has often spoken about his frustration with the institution. Seeing his uncle arrested while he is out doing charity work with the WHO, that has to feel like some form of vindication. Sources allege that Harry is frustrated by comparisons, but honestly, the contrast does the work for him. He doesn't need to say a word. His itinerary speaks volumes. The itinerary itself is packed with dopamine hits for anyone who supports their philanthropic pivot. They aren't just doing meet and greets, they are visiting the Za'atari Refugee Camp. This is home to thousands of displaced Syrians. It's gritty, it's real, and it highlights a massive global issue. They are checking in on QuestScope, an organization focusing on mental health and physical rehabilitation. This aligns perfectly with Harry's Invictus ethos: recovery, resilience, pushing through trauma. It's on brand, safe, and undeniably positive. But here is the curiosity loop that keeps me up at night. Who is funding this? Unlike a royal tour, which is often picked up by the sovereign grant or host governments in a diplomatic capacity, this is being framed as a partnership with the WHO. However, reports indicate that the Sussexes own Archuel Philanthropies, which, by the way, underwent that rebranding back in December 2025, has financially backed some of these initiatives. They are putting their money where their mouth is. They are funding medical evacuations for children. That is a hard thing to criticize, even for their harshest detractors. But does it insulate them from the chaos back home? Not entirely. Let's look at the royal family informed part again. People understands the royal family has been informed. That specific phrasing is delicious. It doesn't say requested permission. It doesn't say received a blessing. It says informed. It's the diplomatic equivalent of sending a text message saying, "Heads up, we're going to Jordan," probably while the plane is already taxiing. It highlights the continued distance, both physical and emotional, between the Montecito branch and the London branch. And frankly, with the Andrew situation unfolding, King Charles probably has bigger fish to fry than worrying about Harry visiting a hospital in Amman. Or does he? In a way, Harry playing the statesman on the world stage, while the actual monarchy is mired in legal scandals, undermines the necessity of the working royals. If the spare can do the job without the palace machinery, what does that say about the machinery? It's a dangerous thought for the institution, but a fascinating one for us. And let's not ignore the partners involved here. World Central Kitchen, Jose Andres. These are heavy hitters in the aid world. This isn't a small local charity. This is global infrastructure. By aligning with WCK, the Sussexes are attaching themselves to effective, immediate action. WCK goes where the trouble is. They feed people when the world falls apart. By visiting their regional headquarters, Harry and Meghan are signaling that they want to be seen as operational, not just ornamental. That is a crucial distinction. Working royals are often criticized for being ornamental, cutting ribbons, unveiling plaques. Harry seems determined to show he is operational, looking at logistics, funding evacuations, talking to doctors. It's a modernization of the royal role done outside the royal family. But wait, there's a snag, the security question. We haven't heard much about the security arrangements for this trip, but Jordan, while stable, is in a volatile neighborhood. The risks are non-zero. This adds a layer of tension to every public appearance they make over the next 48 hours. Will it go smoothly? Or will the shadow of security concerns flare up again, reminding everyone of the legal battles Harry fought in the UK? There is also a human element here that we need to acknowledge without being overly sentimental. Harry is 41 now. Meghan is 44. They have been out of the working royal game for 6 years. They have built a life, a brand, and a family in California. This trip feels like a maturation of their post-royal identity. In 2024, the Nigeria and Colombia trips felt a bit like royal tour in exile. There was a lot of pomp, a lot of ceremony. This Jordan trip feels different. It feels more focused, more specific. Partnering with the WHO gives it a bureaucratic legitimacy that purely celebrity visits lack. It's almost like Harry is building his own alternative diplomatic corps. He's meeting with director generals, not just fans. That's a shift. It's a level up. And it creates a curiosity gap for the future. Is this the new model? Annual high-level humanitarian summits partnering with UN bodies. If so, they are carving out a niche that no one else really occupies. Celebrities do charity, yes. Royals do diplomacy, yes. But this hybrid, it's unique. Now let's pivot back to the scandal, because you cannot separate these two events. The article mentions that Andrew's arrest is embarrassing for the entire family. That is the understatement of the century. It is catastrophic. It drags the late Queen's legacy, the current King's reign, and the institution's judgment into the mud. Misconduct in public office suggests a betrayal of trust. For Harry, who was stripped of his patronages and military titles, watching his uncle face these allegations while retaining his title of Duke of York must be infuriating. Yet reports say Harry's message is focused on unsung heroes and charity. He is taking the high road, at least publicly, but privately, come on, we are all human. There has to be a sense of "I told you so" regarding the modernization and cleaning house the monarchy needed. By staying away from the UK during this turmoil, Harry avoids being dragged into the paparazzi scrum outside the courts. He is literally and metaphorically above the fray, flying to the Middle East. It's smart, it's safe, and it drives the British tabloids crazy because they can't pin the Andrew mess on him. But here is where the sarcasm comes in handy, it's convenient. Every time the Sussexes face a dip in popularity or a quiet period, they pop up in a conflict zone or a developing nation with cameras in tow. Skeptics will say this is reputation laundering. They will say it's an attempt to look saintly to distract from their own commercial ventures. And sure, that's a valid, cynical take. But at the end of the day, if the result is funding for a refugee camp and attention on mental health services in a war-torn region, does the motivation matter? That's the moral loop you have to close for yourself. If the outcome is good, do we care if it's also a PR stunt? I'd argue that in 2026, all celebrity is a PR stunt, so you might as well get some medical evacuations out of it. The impact on the ground in Za'atari is real, regardless of the headlines in the Daily Mail. Let's go deeper into the mental health aspect of this visit. This has been Harry's drumbeat for a decade, but bringing it to a refugee context in Jordan is specific. It's not just about wellness in the Western sense, it's about trauma processing for displaced populations. Questscope, the partner mentioned, does heavy lifting in this area. By highlighting them, Harry is using his megaphone for something that isn't sexy in the media sense. Mental health support for refugees doesn't sell magazines like a royal wedding does. So credit where credit is due, he is shining a light in a dark corner, and doing it alongside Meghan, who has her own history of advocacy for women and families, makes it a dual-pronged approach. They are presenting themselves as a unit, a team, which contrasts sharply with the solo figure of the king dealing with the Andrew fallout back home. The visual of the united couple versus the fragmented firm is a subtle psychological play. And what about the future implications of this partnership with Dr. Tedros? The WHO is a massive bureaucratic beast. It doesn't move quickly, and it doesn't partner with just anyone. For the WHO to align this publicly with the Sussexes suggests that the organization sees value in the Harry and Meghan brand. They see reach. They see influence. This validates the Sussexes' claim that they can have a global impact without the royal crest. It's a stamp of approval from the international community that the palace can't revoke. You can take away the HOH style, but you can't take away a WHO partnership. That power dynamic is shifting. Harry is building a power base that relies on international NGOs, not British constitutional tradition. That makes him independent in a way he wasn't 5 years ago. It makes him harder to control and harder to silence. We also have to talk about the open loop of what comes next. They are in Jordan for 2 days, Feb 25th and 26th. What happens on the 27th? Do they fly back to California, or is there a secret second leg to this trip? Usually, these itineraries are kept under tight wraps for security, so we might be in for another surprise. And what will the fallout be when they return? Will the British press praise the humanitarian effort, or will they juxtapose it with Andrew's legal woes to criticize the family further? My bet is the latter. The narrative will be Harry plays saint while Andrew plays defendant. It writes itself. And frankly, it's a narrative the palace hates because it makes the renegade look competent and the loyalists look chaotic. The mention of the Oct. 7 attack and the subsequent crisis in the region is also handled very carefully in the reports. The Sussexes are threading a needle here. They are supporting families affected by conflict. They are refraining from taking hard political stances, which is wise. One wrong word in that region and the diplomatic fallout could be immense. They are sticking to the humanitarian lane: food, water, medicine, mental health. It's the only safe lane for them, but even that lane is fraught with tension. By visiting World Central Kitchen, they are aligning with the Feed Everyone philosophy. It's a neutral, powerful stance. But make no mistake, their presence there draws attention to the crisis, and attention is political, whether they intend it to be or not. Let's look at the character arc of Prince Andrew for a second to really understand the contrast. From hero pilot to trade envoy to pariah to arrested suspect, it is a tragic fall entirely of his own making if the allegations hold true. Then look at Harry. From party prince to soldier to traitor, in the eyes of some, to independent philanthropist, both men have stepped away from public duties, but for opposite reasons. One was pushed, one jumped. This week, those two trajectories are clearer than ever. One is in a holding cell or a lawyer's office. The other is in a refugee camp. It is a morality play playing out in real-time news feeds. And for the casual viewer, it reinforces the idea that Harry might have made the right call in leaving. If the firm protects the likes of Andrew for so long, maybe the spare was right to get out while he could. That's the subliminal message of this video, and it's the one the palace fears most. Finally, we have to consider the legacy aspect. We are in 2026. The king is getting older. The transition to the William era is looming on the horizon. Every move Harry makes now is about defining his relationship with the future King William V. Eventually, by staking a claim in Jordan, a place special to William and Kate, Harry is saying, "I am still here, I am still relevant, and I can go where you go." It's a sibling rivalry played out on the global map. But instead of fighting over toys, they are fighting over spheres of influence. William has the Earthshot Prize, Harry has the Invictus Games, and these Who partnerships. They are running parallel courts. And right now, on this Tuesday in February, Harry's court looks a lot more proactive than the one dealing with legal briefs in London. So as we watch the footage coming out of Oman over the next 48 hours, keep your eyes peeled for the details. Watch the body language, watch who stands next to them, watch how Dr. Tedros interacts with them. These are the micro-signals that tell us the real status of the Sussexes on the world stage. Are they treated as visiting dignitaries or just famous celebrities? The line is blurry, and Harry loves dancing on that line. And as for Andrew, well, his story is stuck in the past, mired in allegations from decades ago. Harry's story is trying desperately to be about the future. And in the battle between the past and the future usually wins the attention economy. That's why you're watching this, and that's why this trip matters. It's not just a visit, it's a declaration of independence, signed in the sand of the Jordanian desert. Now, I want to know what you think. Is this timing deliberate? Drop your theories in the comments, because the coincidence is just too loud to ignore.